Dunes Investments, which is a great first time they've been in as a
Right.
gold sponsor. And, of course, to see Carolina First stepping up to the plate again, along with
Right.
those three major medical centers, hospitals that year after year continue to give and try to make a difference. And, of course, Redline Power Sports, $10,400, I think
Right.
Jonathan Formo said last week, is the value of that jet ski and the trailer that goes along with it. As he said, if you got a hitch that night, you can drive on off that night after the hardball, which he'd love for someone to do.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice.
He'd love for someone to do in the Herald and Understanding Corporation. That is tremendous, Tammy.
It is. It is. And Dunes Investment, this is their first year participating, and they jumped in at the gold level.
Mike Green and the crew over there. I've seen their location over down below the American Athletic Club on Bob Grissom Parkway. They're a great location down on the first floor. I just drove by there the other day and saw they were really making it happen.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. Nice location. Nice new business.
Absolutely. Tam, there's so much that goes into it even when you think about whether it's the special appeals, the gift bag, the auction committee, sponsors, tickets. It goes on, publicity, logistics. It really, a lot goes in to raise almost $500,000.
I know. When folks say to me, I just can't believe you raised $400,000 in one night. What do you do the rest of the year? You kind of wish they'd come follow you around for a week or a month so they could see. The last month leading up to any event, but particularly this event, there's a lot of things to do because a lot of sponsors, of course, they commit the last 2 to 3 weeks. The auction items, they commit the last 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe they've committed but you don't have the item. So, you have to go pick it up, make sure you get it. If it's a gift certificate, we have to create props and things like that so that we have something to display at the event. We get the guest list in now, the ad pages. Just doing the program book is a week's worth of work, just getting all the ads and all the auction, typed up correctly into the program book, and then all the other factors that are included in the program book. That's really what we're focusing on right now for the next week, and then that'll be a sigh of relief for about an hour before we jump into the next project. The other big thing that's critical is to get the guest list in so that we can pre-assign those bidder numbers. So that's real critical. But if we have viewers out there and maybe they don't want to get dressed up and go to the heart ball, but maybe they have heart disease in their family. With heart disease being the #1 killer, I can't imagine that at least 50% of our viewing audience wouldn't have had some form of heart disease in their family. And if they say, I really wish I could help them, but just getting dressed up and going to a black tie function and spending $175 a ticket, that's not really my thing. But I really would like to help that organization. If they have some time, they can call our organization, and we have we are usually there at this moment in time from basically 8 in the morning to sometimes midnight or after. And there's lots of things folks can do, from making phone calls, putting labels on things, stuffing envelopes, just all sorts of things that they can do. Even things they could take home with them to do if they have children and so they can't come into our office, or maybe they're with a sick friend or something like that, and they have some time on their hands, but they really can't get away to come to the office. We even have things we could send home with them.
Viewers right now could call in 626-3939. Even if no one's there in the office right now, I know you're going to be heading over to the office from here in just a few minutes, but of course they can call in, leave a message. You'll get back to them quick. They can make calls from the house. They can stuff envelopes from the house. They can even call others to remind them that you haven't gotten their program in their ads in for the program book, or haven't gotten the names of their guests and the tables in. You got to have people making those calls. We're just running out of time. We've got less than 3 weeks before the event now. 626-3939?
That's correct.
Okay.
Other needs are the weekend of the event. Friday, we'll be moving all the auction items and setting up and decorating and doing a lot of things like that. If we have folks that are experts at arranging flowers, we have a sort of a critical need this year. Our chairman is Rita Siegel Levine, and as you know, her husband had a stroke recently. And Dandelion is still going to really be sponsoring this event and donating all the materials, but we need volunteers to actually put those things together. So if folks are listening and they want to come in Friday night or Saturday morning and help create those arrangements, we need 100 arrangements created.
Wow.
So that's another critical need that we have, as well as we'll need folks that can volunteer to help that night, the night of the event, to do check-in when folks arrive, to help with the auction area, just monitor and put bid sheets out, even do things like make sure there are pins with the bid sheet. If somebody is writing a bid and they just accidentally take that pin and stick it in their pocket, then that item may not get any bids for the rest of the evening because there's not a pin
That's a
accessible.
Great point. So we've got to have folks walking around the auction room constantly checking to make sure there's a pin there.
Right. And then at the end of the evening, pulling the bid sheets and checking the folks out to make sure we get their payment and they get the right items that they bid on.
Tammy, do your volunteers have to dress up in full garb and the tuxedos and otherwise to be there to volunteer? They can help out at any level. I mean,
they can help at any level. If what we would need in order for them to be really doing things like registration or walking around during the event is if it's at least a suit or
a suit or dressed up somehow.
Dressed up some kind
but
of
not necessarily a tuxedo.
Right, not necessarily a tuxedo, not necessarily a long evening gown, but dress nicely.
Good, and of course there are needs, as you say, even if it's not Friday. If they can't be there Friday or Saturday, you still have needs leading up to it, helping to still drive around town, pick up other auction items that have been donated but not yet picked up, to bring them to your office, and then on Friday to make sure everything gets up to Kingston Plantation.
That's correct. And also a need that everybody always forgets is Sunday morning. Sunday morning, anything that has not been picked up, and usually, with 200 auction items, we may have 80 to 100 items that are not picked up, which means we have to pack those up, transport them back to the office so that folks can stop by the office and pick them up, or we can deliver them to them the following week.
Right. Golly, Tammy, there are critical needs. Folks can come in early Sunday morning, even if they're planning on going to church, to come in, spend a couple hours with us, head off to church, and probably still come back afterwards. Or if they can talk to God and take a day off and be there with us all morning and early afternoon to get those auction items either back to your office or help disseminate them for the folks who actually purchased them.
Right. That's
correct. It's so critical. You have so many volunteers, and even at the end of the event, and helping to check out folks like Clark Parker and his staff, he and his wife Marcia, that work so hard every year, year after year, to make sure checkout is a successful event. We just got a couple of minutes. Why do folks need to think about the Heart Association as their vehicle to make a difference? Well,
heart disease is the #1 killer, and the American Heart Association supports research in order to prevent heart disease and to actually treat patients who have heart disease. Usually 1 in every 2 people are going to be victim at sometime in their life from heart disease. The other thing that we support is strokes, and 1 in every 3 people normally have a stroke. And people don't think about it like that, but people think breast cancer is maybe women's leading cause of death, and 1 in every 2 women have heart disease. 1 in every 26 have breast cancer. So heart disease is the #1 killer of all ages, all races, even the #1 cause of birth defects and the #1 cause of death in children. And it's actually on the rise for children.
Wow.
Because children are, as I'm sure you and your viewing audience knows, they are not eating right. They're eating hamburgers and French fries and chicken nuggets, and most kids think that a vegetable is a French fry. So they're just not eating right. They're watching video games and on the computer and not out playing ball like kids grew up doing years ago. So they're just not getting the exercise, and they're not eating right. So.
Tammy, we've got about 30 seconds. If a viewer waits a couple hours and calls into the office, do they want to say, I need to talk to Tammy, or they just call and say, I want to volunteer, I've got some time this week? What do they say if they call in, if someone's to call this morning?
They can talk to anybody.
Okay.
We actually have 3 employees at the office, and everybody is equipped to know how to respond to someone calling and wanting to make a donation or to volunteer.
And you really want folks to call?
And we really want them to call us.
That's wonderful. Tammy, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Tammy Eaves coming up next.
Join the fight against heart disease and stroke as Understanding Corporation presents the 13th Annual Waccamaw Area Heart Ball. It's a sparkling black tie gala that features a reception, live and silent auction, and gourmet dining. Then, dance the night away with entertainment by Jumpstart. It all takes place on Saturday, February 17th in the Kensington Ballroom at Kingston Plantation. Call now to reserve your seat at the 13th Annual Waccamaw Area Heart Ball.
Even though it's 3 weeks away, we call them last-minute needs. There's so much that has to happen in less than 3 weeks to get ready to help raise almost $500,000. It's a big night, Saturday, February 17th. But the phone number's simple. You heard Tammy say it over and over, 843-626-3939. We have volunteer needs. We have needs still for auction items, whether silent or live, big or small, anything you can give. But giving of your time is critical, 626-3939. Think of a way that you can make a difference in fighting heart disease and stroke, whether it's a reminder that every 35 seconds someone's life is taken by cardiovascular disease. Every 3 minutes a life is removed from this earth because of a stroke, and every minute someone suffers a stroke. That impacts you one way or another, either if you're society in general or an employer or a loved one, you're impacted by cardiovascular disease. 626-3939. Pick up the phone and make the call. Leave a message now at 7:30 or wait an hour and call. You'll talk to somebody, whether it's a volunteer in the office right now or an employee or even Tammy Eaves herself. You can call and say, I'll give you some time, or I'll give you $1, or I'll give you 75 cents. I'll give you anything. I want to make a difference in the fight against heart disease and stroke.